Hey y'all, it's Walt the Realtor again coming at you with some important information you should be aware of, especially if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in the next year or so. So now, before we get started, I want to make clear this is not a political statement. This is an economic statement. I also want to be clear that I'm not an economist, but I am kind of a nerd when it comes to this stuff. I'm also not trying to scare you, but if you're one of those people that are maybe on the fence about buying or selling a home, I'm hoping this information will convince you to develop, let's call it a sense of urgency. So let's get into it. So if you've been watching the news at all recently, you're certainly already aware that we're on the verge of a trade war, if not already in the midst of a trade war, with Canada, Mexico, and China in particular, and also kind of starting to see it happen with the European Union as well. There are a couple of reasons why this is important to the housing market. The most direct reason is this. Canada is our largest trading partner for importing softwood lumber, which is what we use to frame houses. Mexico is our largest trading partner for the import of gypsum, which is what we use to make drywall. And China is our largest trading partner for the import of steel, which companies like Whirlpool and GE use to manufacture appliances like refrigerators, stoves, water heaters, and things like that here in the States. We also import quite a few appliances made in China, so any tariffs that we apply toward those items, it's going to increase the cost of building a new house or buying appliances that will help make the house work as a home. Now you might be thinking, okay, but what if I don't build a new house? Can't I just buy a house that's already built? Well, yeah, of course you can, but those new development houses, they're going to get more expensive. And as they do, the people who would normally be interested in buying them will see the higher prices, and a good number of them will begin to look at the existing home market instead. That means the demand for existing homes is going to increase, which will also drive up prices. Now, I know that there are plenty of you out there saying, okay, hold on, Walt. All we have to do is ramp up our domestic production. Our lumber mills just need to produce more, our gypsum mines just need to dig faster, and we just need to fire up those steel mills again. And you're not entirely wrong about that. After all, the real benefit of tariffs is that it makes domestic production competitive with imports. So for example, if I can make a pair of shoes in China for $1, but it costs me $5 to make the same pair of shoes here in the States, then I'll go make them in China. But if you tack on a $4 tariff on each pair of shoes, now it's $5 no matter where I have those shoes made. So I'm going to go with whichever option gives me the best quality. That's how tariffs would benefit the shoe manufacturers in the States. The problem is there aren't that many shoe manufacturers in the United States, so they wouldn't be able to just ramp up to keep us all in shoes. So we'd all still be paying those higher prices, but most of those shoes are still going to be coming from China for quite a long time, at least until new shoe plants can be built out there. And that would be years. It's the same for building supplies. It would take quite some time for production to ramp up enough to replace the imported materials that we now have tariffs being levied against. But remember, we were importing those materials either because we couldn't produce enough of them, like lumber, or because it was cheaper to import. So even if we can ramp up production, everything is still going to be more expensive. Hold on, there's more. So far, we've really only talked about how a trade war might make it more expensive to buy a house. But what if you're thinking about selling? You might be thinking, sweet, I'm going to make a fortune when I sell my house here in the next couple of years. Well, maybe. But after you sell your house, you're still going to need some place to live. You're either going to need to buy or rent another property. And when the cost of buying property goes up, the cost of rent goes up too. And you might be forgetting something else too. Those tariffs are going to raise prices on a lot of things, not just building materials, and that means inflation. And the Fed only has one thing that they can do to try to keep inflation in check, and that's raise interest rates. The only way to lower prices is to either increase supply or decrease demand. And there's nothing they can do to increase supply, so they're going to try to decrease demand by making your credit cards more expensive, by making your car payment more expensive, and by making your house payment more expensive, so you can't afford to buy all that other stuff. They're hoping this decreased demand will slow down inflation. But by making mortgages more expensive, more home buyers are inevitably priced out of the market. No one goes house shopping by first thinking, I want to buy a $350,000 house. They think, I want to buy a house for a monthly payment I can afford. So if you want to sell, you might be shooting yourself in the foot if you wait too long. Now, I told you that so I could tell you this. Maybe you're thinking about upsizing your home because your family is getting bigger. Maybe you're thinking about downsizing because the kids moved out. Maybe you're retiring and thinking about moving into an apartment or a condo or a retirement community. Or maybe you're thinking of relocating to be closer to your kids and your grandkids. If you're thinking about it, you might want to be thinking sooner rather than later. But you don't have to listen to me. I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But I could be wrong. And as always, if there's anything I can do for you, if there's any questions I can answer, give me a shout. I'm always happy to help. See you next time.